Uneven sea level rise likely, new study says. New study cites physics of West Antarctic Ice Sheet melting even further. Washington, D.C. and other coastal U.S. cities could find themselves under several more feet of water than previously predicted if warming temperatures destroy the West Antarctic Ice Sheet. A new study based on a model predicts. The West Antarctic Ice Sheet, WAIS, towers approximately 6,000 feet, 1,800 meters above sea level over a large section of Antarctica. It holds approximately 500,000 cubic miles, 2.2 million cubic kilometers of ice, about the same amount of ice contained in the Greenland ice sheet. This vast area of ice is an anchor for numerous glaciers that drain into the polar sea and is bounded by the Ross and Rhone ice shelves. Whether or when this ice sheet might melt is not completely certain, but even a partial melting would have a bigger impact on some coastal areas than others. The new research has found that sea level rise would not be uniform around the globe, owing to odd gravitational effects and predicted shifts in the planet's rotation. A collapse concern. Throughout hundreds of millions of years in Earth's past, polar ice caps have grown and receded in cycles, lasting thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. When ice caps melted, seas rose. But what's different today is that melting of ice at both poles is occurring much faster than what has naturally occurred in the past. Again, what's happening today is that melting of ice at both poles is occurring much faster than what has naturally occurred in the past. That's a canary in the coal mine. The tipping point. Some scientists are worried that our current path of warming could cause the collapse of all or part of the WAIS over the coming decades. These worries have been further fueled by a recent study in the journal Nature that indicates that more of the WAIS is warming than was previously thought, even faster. The West Antarctic is fringed by ice shelves, which act to stabilize the ice sheet. These shelves are very sensitive to global warming, and if they break up, the ice sheet will have a lot less impediment to collapse, said the co-author of the new study. And the most recent report, released in 2007, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, estimates that a full collapse of the ice sheet would raise sea levels by 16 feet, 5 meters globally. The new report or study says that this is an oversimplification, and that sea level rise will be higher than expected and greater in some places than others. In particular, the researchers say the IPCC estimate ignores three important effects of such a massive ice melt. Gravity. Like planets and other cosmic bodies that exert a gravitational pull on each other, huge ice sheets exert a gravitational pull on the nearby ocean, drawing water toward it. If an ice sheet melted, that pull would be gone and water would move away. In the case of the WAIS, the net effect would be a fall in sea level within approximately 1,200 miles, 2,000 kilometers, of the ice sheet, and a higher than expected rise in sea levels in the northern hemisphere further away. Rebound. The WAIS is called a marine-based ice sheet because the weight of all that ice has depressed the bedrock underneath to the point that most of it sits below sea level. If all or even some of that ice melts, the bedrock will rebound, bounce back, pushing some of the water on top of it out into the ocean, yes, further contributing to sea level rise rapidly. Earth's rotation. A collapse of the WAIS would also shift the South Pole location of the Earth's rotation axis, an imaginary line running through the Earth from pole to pole, approximately 1,600 feet, 500 meters from its present location. This would shift water from the southern Atlantic and Pacific Oceans northward toward North America and the southern Indian Ocean. The net effect of all these processes is that if the West Antarctic Ice Sheet collapses, the rise in sea levels around many coastal regions or cities will be as much as 25% more than expected, for a total of between 6 and 7 meters, 20 to 23 feet, if the whole ice sheet melts. This could happen in a matter of decades. And that's a lot of additional water, particularly around such highly populated areas as Washington, D.C., New York City, and the California coastline. Submerging threat. 6 meters of sea level rise would eventually flood the nation's capital, because even though it doesn't have an extensive coastline, it was originally a low-lying, swampy area connected to the Chesapeake Bay. It would also put virtually all of South Florida and southern Louisiana underwater. The west coast of North America, Europe, and coastal areas around the Indian Ocean would all be flooded more than previously expected. We aren't saying or suggesting that a collapse of the West Antarctic Ice Sheet is imminent, but it could. It's possible. Even just part of it could raise sea level. But these findings do suggest that if you're planning for sea level rise, you had better plan a little higher. Again, these findings do suggest that if you're planning for sea level rise, you'd better plan a little higher. In other words, the sea level could rise much faster, much higher than previously thought. Global warming can happen quite fast, or climate change can happen rapidly, because this is not a natural kind of global warming. It's not a natural kind of climate change. It has unnatural characteristics or factors, because climate change is real, and it's happening every day, day by day, all around the world. At least 70 million tons of carbon are being put into the atmosphere every day by man-made sources around the world. And the Earth, in some kind of way, is a living being of some kind on a big order. Yes, it is a living being. And it's a very balanced, extremely balanced, sensitive type being. And humankind has upset the balance. And all these things are connected to everything else that's going on around the world every day. And in turn, these are more end times, transition days, signs.